Hi, I'm Chris, and we're going through the math questions from this year's SAT that was given in January. So if you took the January SAT and you got your test booklet back and you're looking over some of the questions to see what you got right, what you got wrong, and you're not sure about some of the math, and this is the place to look. So I'm starting with the tougher math questions that a lot of my students have been asking me about recently. This is question 7 from section 2. We see the diagram of a circle, and they tell us that AB in the problem is 3√2. So 3 times the square root of 2. Sorry, I know it's a little tight in there. It's a small figure. You have to squeeze it in. If you wrote it in on your test booklet, you probably noticed that it's kind of a tight squeeze to get the information in there. But that's 3√2 for the length of AB. So the most important thing in answering this question, where they want to know the circumference of the circle, is to know how this hypotenuse of this right triangle shown relates to the circle. And the key with any circle-based question is you need to find the radius. That should always be your number one goal with any SAT or ACT question for that matter. If they're talking about circles, find the radius automatically. Our equation for circumference is hopefully something we know. If you don't, they do provide it for you on the SAT in the beginning of the section in that chart that has a bunch of different formulas. But you should memorize it, make a flashcard for it. It'll take just a few minutes. Review it occasionally. Make sure that you know it come test day because it saves a lot of time without having to look it up. So the circumference of a circle is going to be 2 pi r. So once we know the radius, we can plug it in there. So the radius will be from A to the center of the circle O, or from B to O. And what's important also that we recognize that any radius, or all of the radii, plural, will be equal in a circle. So what this triangle actually simplifies to is a right triangle where each of the legs has the same length, and it's got a hypotenuse of 3√2. So this kind of right triangle, hopefully if you're looking at this, you're saying, that looks a little bit familiar, and it should, because it's a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. Again, something that we absolutely have to know by test day. So if you're not sure of the ratio of the sides of a 45, 45, 90, even though it's also given at the beginning of a section on the SAT, please, please, please make sure that you memorize that for test day. It will absolutely make a significant difference in your score in the math. So if this is 3√2, the relationship between the sides of 45, 45, 90 is x, x, and then x√2, which means we're basically plugging in a 3 in place of x. So that means each of these shorter sides would equal 3. And if we look at our circle, we notice that that value of 3 is actually the radius of our circle. So once we have a radius of 3, we plug that in, and your circumference will be 2 pi times 3. Whoops. Getting a step ahead of myself there, times 3, which will give you a value of 6 pi for the circumference of that circle. So a question like this is certainly answerable even if we don't have some of the stuff we talked about here memorized. But take a look at how much time we save. If we know the relationship between those sides, we can look at this figure and immediately say, okay, each side is 3, that's the radius. If radius is 3, circumference 2 times 3 is 6, 6 pi. This question is the type of question that you might be able to work your way through in a few minutes, maybe take 2, 3, even 4 minutes to answer a question like this correctly. But if you've got that information memorized and you know the relationship of the sides of a 45, 45, 90 and the equation for a circumference, then you can answer a question like this probably in under 30 seconds and really save yourself a large chunk of time for the tougher questions. For more, please feel free to take a look at our other videos as we continue covering this January 2015 SAT exam. Thanks for watching.